Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today we're going to go over my 10 top art business tips I wish I knew and implemented when I first started out. For a little bit of background, hey, my name's Chantal. I am a watercolor artist and illustrator, writing and illustrating her own children's book, and I'm taking you guys along that journey in real time. I also opened my own little art gallery in 2022 when I was 20 years old, and I didn't have any art or business experience when I first opened, and I really had no idea what I was doing. So we're going to dive into everything I wish I did know. So let's start with number 1. Tip number 1, which might scare a lot of people because it scared me, is that you should invest in your business as soon as you start making money. When I first opened my little art gallery in 2022, I came out with a watercolor collection of Kangaroo Island coastline paintings, and there were 16 in total, and I pretty much sold them all within the first month, and I didn't make prints of them until months later, even though people were asking me, because in my mind, I was like, oh, I need to save money. Like, I need to reach a certain amount of income coming into my business each month before I can reinvest the money and outsource other products, which is a crazy mindset because the moment I started making prints of those specific paintings, people were willing to buy them. So it was crazy to me that I did not invest into new products that I could sell until I had reached a certain amount of money that I was making, because I attached my worth to my finances so much, and it has taken me years to kind of let go of that perception and reinvest my money into ideas and projects and facilities and equipment that is going to make my life so much easier and is going to allow me to make more money. So if you heard this advice from lots of other people, take it from me to reinvest your money into things that is going to allow your business to grow, because otherwise it's just going to stay stagnant and you're not going to be able to evolve. This leads me on to something that I have recently just invested in my business, which is the Moonbin label printer. Having a label printer is going to make my life so much easier. So let's get into the details of why I chose Moonbin. I was so excited to receive my Moonbin label printer because it is going to make life as a small business so much easier in the future. My first shop update of the year, and also my biggest shop update, is coming in September and October for my 2025 calendars. And I'm so excited to use Moonbin to print out my labels because last year I hand packed all the orders and printed out the shipping labels just on paper and stuck them on with sticky tape, and it took me so long. With the 941 AP AirPrint Wi-Fi label, it was super easy to connect to my computer to the label printer using the Wi-Fi and print out my shipping labels. I don't know if it's just me or if you guys see them too, but I always watch small businesses and creators have a massive launch and then they print all their labels and hold them up, and I always wanted to be that person, but I never could really visualize it until now and actually printing out a label myself, and I got so excited. The Moonbin printer works in a range of 50 meters, so while I'm going over to OTR to grab a snack, my printer can keep on working. As well as shipping labels, Moonbin also prints all type of stickers for any need you have. I have a little monthly art subscription on Patreon, and this month, instead of drawing a fairy on the back, I am going to design a fairy sticker with this beautiful pink label. Moonbin have an app both on your phone and computer, so you can choose one of the 1,000 templates they have and design it to your own sticker, which is what I did here. And I really wanted to create a sticker that would go on the back of my snail mail that I send out every month, and look how cute it turned out. With a 2-year warranty and a multi-device connection, if you're ready to upgrade to a new printer or looking to buy your very first one, you can use the link in my description to shop with Moonbin. The second tip I have heard from every single creator that shares their business tips, and you have probably heard it as well. However, I did not heed this advice. I did not implement this advice until last month, and it has backfired so bad, and that is create a separate separate bank account for your business. I feel so ashamed to say that I did not do that when I first opened my little art gallery. I kept all my finances in one bank account with my personal expenses, because I don't have many personal expenses. Like, I have my food, I have my rent, I have my petrol, and that is it. So it was very easy for me to distinguish my business expenses from my very few personal expenses over the past 2 years. However, it's gotten to the point now that I have about 6 different ways money enters my account. I've got my online shop, I've got direct bank transfers, PayPal, I've got my Patreon, I've got my shop here, I've got farmers markets, and all of them are come into my bank account through different pay apps. And it's gotten kind of like overwhelming that they're kind of all just in my personal bank account. Not only that, but I also have just my monthly subscriptions that it takes to run my business, like my Adobe and my Epidemic Sound, and just things like that. Just any subscriptions like that just come out of my bank account automatically. And so now I have just opened a separate account with my bank for my business expenses and my business profits, money coming into my account. And it was so much trouble for me to go into my Squarespace and my Patreon account, and that took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I also had to go and find all the subscriptions that I have for my business and change those bank details over to my new one. But it would have been so much easier for me if I just opened up a separate business account at the very beginning, and as I accumulated and have grown my business, I've had new income streams and have had more expenses. And so being just able to add them to my business account from the get-go would have made my life so much easier. So if you've heard this advice for the 3rd or the 5th time now from me, take it as a sign to book your appointment tomorrow with your bank and open up a separate business account, because it doesn't cost any more. It doesn't cost anything other than 20 minutes of your time, and it's going to save you hours of work later on down the track. My 3rd tip is that you need to formulate a long-term business plan before you even start your business, because I didn't do that. It took me a couple months before I actually started to design and formulate a plan for my business, 1 year, 2 years, and 5 years ahead. Because when I first opened my little art studio here, I didn't have a long-term plan, and I quickly realized how bad I needed one, because if you do not have a long-term plan of like where you want to be, how much money you want to be making, how you're going to make that money and sustain yourself, you're going to lose motivation and you're going to quickly regret even starting your business. Be as detailed as possible about how you're going to go about achieving those goals. And I think having a long-term plan is going to really motivate you every single day to take actionable steps. And say your long-term goal is to be a full-time artist. How are you going to get there? What type of work are you going to create? How can that work be translated into ways you can make money? And how are you going to achieve those sales? Because that is so important, and social media plays a huge role in that. Being active in your community plays a huge role in that. And if you're not doing those steps prior to even starting your business and thinking about that, it's going to be really hard to keep going and to sustain yourself long term. I feel like tip number 4 really backs up number 3, and that is to have a very distinct art style or business style and a very distinct voice. And if you don't have this, then if you don't have a very distinct voice of like why you're creating and how you're creating, then being able to formulate a long-term business plan is going to be very, very difficult. It's also so necessary if you want to get jobs, if you want to get clients, if you want to grow your social media platform. Having a style, an art style or a business style, or having a very passionate and distinct, authentic voice about why you're even on here is so important for growing your business, because otherwise people don't know what to expect from you, and keeping it very consistent is going to allow you to establish that long-term plan. Tip number 5 is a big one, and it is to keep your dreams to yourself, at least initially. until you have found confidence to share them and you are solidified in your path of achieving that dream. I think it is really, really important to keep your dreams, massive big goals that you have, a secret, because people are going to doubt you. And those doubts that people share on you are going to change your mindset, even subconsciously. If you think you have the confidence and you think you have the passion and the dedication and the resilience not to listen to people and what they say behind your back, or the voices that you hear in the distance and the little facial expressions they give you when you share your goals, you think you have the resilience and the confidence, even subconsciously, without you even thinking about it, their words are going to influence you and your mood, and are therefore going to influence how you're going to go about achieving your work and your goals and your dream. And that's not something that you want. You really want to be strong to your authenticity and how you want to go about achieving those goals and achieving the best work that you can, and staying true to your own vision by not having other people influence you on how you should go about achieving them. Did that make sense? I feel like I'm a very confident person now, and I'm set. I want to sell 10,000 copies of my children's book in 1 week, which is insane. And I think I'm confident in sharing that with other people and saying it out loud. But I said it to someone else the other day that I'm gonna have 1,000 pre-orders of my children's book, and they were like, oh, watch out, that's a lot. Be careful, you don't want to be stuck with stock. And I was like, okay. But they hadn't even seen my children's book. They had no idea that I have, quite a big following on Instagram, and 80% of those people follow me for my children's book, and that I have, they have no idea about the book that I'm creating and even seeing the illustrations. So why should they influence my project? Even them not even seeing it or understanding what I'm creating, their words subconsciously influenced me to have a smaller goal. So not anymore. But just for a second I was like, oh maybe, which is, something that I don't want to do. I want to dream big and I want to achieve big things, really keep your dreams to yourself and be able to solidify them and work towards them without sharing them with other people, because other people's thought, they're going to change your opinion on what you think you can do, even subconsciously if you think you're a confident person. So keep your dreams to yourself, at least initially. Tip number 6 is something that I still really need to work on, and that is, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out and make connections. If you want to collaborate with someone, if you want to share your ideas with someone, don't be afraid to ask for assistance. And this is really hard for me to do because I'm a very, very hyper independent person. I rarely ask for help. I rarely share my ideas with other people or ask for assistance. I take pride that everything I do is by my hard work only. So I rarely ask for other people to help me out or, ask for assistance in any sort of matter. I want to say that this business that I built was by myself. So it's really hard for me to say, hey, could you help out with this? Or what's your ideas on this? Or, hey, do you think you could do this for me for this project? It's really hard for me to go and ask that because I take a lot of pride in building this business up and doing this all by myself. Sometimes if you want to grow your business and you want to reach new heights, you need to collaborate with people. You need to there's so many things that you can achieve when you have a community supporting you and you're collaborating with other people and you're taking on advice from other people, or, working on a project together can allow you to achieve things that you would not thought possible. So it's so important to reach out and ask for help when you need it, especially if you are juggling a lot of different things like myself. Sometimes you just need someone to come and help you pack orders, or sometimes, I don't get many orders, so that's not me, but sometimes you just need someone to help you out, fix that thing on the roof, or come and help you clean the studio. And allowing someone to come and help you do that gives you free time to work on projects and to focus on what you're creating. And that's something that I have a goal for this year. Another thing is that I was so scared to reach out to other artists that I admire and ask them if they want to collaborate with me. I was like, oh, they're gonna, hate me or whatever. The worst I can say is no. And to be honest, I've never had someone say no. Where every time that I've asked someone, I was like, hey, we should collaborate in the future. Hey, do you want to do this project together? And I was like, they're going to say no. They've all said, oh my God, yes, Chantal, love your art. Let's do it. Let's plan. Let's collaborate together. So, reach out to someone. If you admire their work and you want to collaborate together, maybe they want to work with you too. Maybe they've even been thinking about it. So shoot your shot. You never know what will happen. Tip number 7 is that you need to value your knowledge. If you have knowledge that someone is after, be very hesitant to share the knowledge completely without any cost. Now, take that with a big grain of salt. I love to share the knowledge that I have learned opening up my little art gallery and all the lessons that I have learnt along the way. I love to share that knowledge with other people, because if I can help them out and make a difference to their own journey, then that inspires me to keep going with my own. But I also think you should value your knowledge and don't just share it lightly. Share it with passion. You should also be mindful who you share it to, because a lot of people take the knowledge you share and they take it for granted. I've had those experiences a lot in the past where I will have people coming into my gallery and they want to ask me so many questions about how I opened it up and all the lessons that I've learned along the way and how to do X, Y, and Z. And I've been so open with sharing all the knowledge that I possibly can. I didn't feel as though those people were grateful for the knowledge that I did share, and that the time and hours that I took out of my day to sit with them or to talk through all the things that I had learned. So be careful with who you share your knowledge with, because those people that you do share your knowledge with might not have your best interests at heart. Tip number 7 follows from tip number 6, and that is to value your time. In the beginning, when you're first learning a new skill, you can't charge for your time because that would be crazy. A painting that would take me 2 weeks at the very beginning of my art journey would now take me less than 2 days. So it would be absolutely crazy for me to charge for my time to create the same painting, or even the one that I would create today would be a much higher version. So it would be crazy for me to charge for the same amount of time. However, when you start growing your skills, you start developing a style that is very in high demand, you need to start valuing your time and taking into consideration how you are dividing up your time to create and work on these projects. For example, when I am doing commission paintings or I'm doing sponsorships for YouTube or any type of collaborations, I need to look at where my time is going and how I should be pricing my work accordingly, because a lot of time is spent on emails. I spend a lot of time talking to my clients, taking photos of the work and sending it backwards and forwards. Like in some collaborations, I have up to 100 emails in one thread, which is crazy because I do spend about 2 hours per day. So, going into pricing your commission paintings or anything, or your product, take into consideration not just how much the product is worth, but also how much time is going into the product in all aspects of creation. Have an open mind to how you value your time. At the very beginning, you cannot ask to be paid for all of your time, especially if you are learning a new skill. There is so much work that goes into, creating a business that, will be paid back to you tenfold in years to come. You just have to have the patience and the consistency and the dedication to see it through. And the lessons that you have learned in the beginning that you say, I will never get my time back, if you see it through, you will. Those lessons will be paid for. So, value your time, and also remember that your time will be paid back if you get to the end. I don't know if there's any, no, maybe that's not the right thing to say. If you keep going and you never give up. Yeah. Tip number 9 might be one of my favorites, and that is you don't have to be doing what everyone else is doing. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was starting out in my business, I was like looking at other people, looking at the products they sell, looking at the content they create, and I was like, I need to be doing that because they did that. That was really successful for them. Hence, it's going to be successful for me. Girl, it was not, because my art style was completely different. My business goals were completely different. My location and my audience was completely different to theirs. And so I don't know why I was thinking, I was very naive, that my success in creating that product or doing that venture would be the same as theirs. And it's taken me a really long time to learn and accept that I don't need to be doing what everyone else is doing. If X does her little commission painting like that, I don't need to do a commission painting like that. You don't have to sell the same products as your neighbor does. You know, you have an artist neighbor and she's coming out with a children's book, she's coming out with merchandise, she's creating jewelry for her brand, she's doing farmers markets, she's doing commissions, she's doing prints. You don't have to do that. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. So you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. And sometimes it's really hard not to, because in today's society, especially with social media, everything feels like a competition. It's really hard. And it's really hard to look at someone and be like, damn, I should start a YouTube channel now. I mean, maybe you should. But it's really hard to stick with what you know you want to do and not venture off into all these different other avenues because that's what everybody else is doing, and you're like, maybe I should do that. I think it is really good to experiment and to try different things to work what's best for you. Anyway, I'm going to go into more detail with this tip and make an entire video on you don't have to be doing what everyone else is doing, because I feel like this is something that is really important and I can extrapolate more and say what I mean. And this tip is very similar to tip number 9. Again, they kind of go from one to the other very nicely. And that is the last tip. Tip number 10, which is that you should just be authentic to yourself. That's a very hard thing to say and a very hard thing to do as well. And it's very hard to develop, especially if you're young, because I have a lot of young viewers on here, and it's so hard, like, not knowing where you want to be, where you want to go, what you want to do. And especially for me, who's went through high school, middle school, high school, and then I took a gap year because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I went to university for a year and changed my degree major like 5 times because I had no idea what I want to do. So it's so hard to say to someone, be authentic to yourself, when I have no idea when I was going through those transitions that I was like authentic to myself. Who am I? I don't know. So leading on from being authentic to yourself, just go with the flow and don't feel pressure to find your style or your voice at certain time frames in your life, because everyone is on their own little journey in life. And that's really, really hard to accept. And I've been through a lot in trying to accept that, because a lot of people ask me questions how to find your authentic voice or your style or what you want to do. And my biggest tip would be spend time alone. Because this needs to be a full YouTube video as well, but opening my little art studio here on Kangaroo Island, how it came to be something that came after the worst year of my life. I used to cry every single day for over 100 days. I had a little cry count on my phone, and it was a very hard time in my life, and I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I opened my little art gallery. And so my biggest advice would be to spend a period of your time. Don't be depressed. Don't do that. Don't recommend that. But I would say that you should spend some time alone, away from your friends or your family or any type of influences that you have. Block all the people that you see as competition on social media. Go traveling, explore the world. I didn't do that, but try and get away from influences in your life and get back to what inspires you. That would be my biggest tip, to try and find your voice. But then again, I think it is a completely different journey for every single person. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was very transparent and inspiring, and you guys can implement this advice in your own journey. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And I'll see you all in next week's video, which is coming up actually on Sunday, I believe. So subscribe, stick around. Can't wait to see you for page 4 of my children's book as well, because that's a very difficult painting. We have a lot to unpack there. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Love you. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.